If you had to do a video work starring Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan, and Britney Spears, what might it be?
It would probably be about Tina Modotti. I'd make them all revolutionaries.
Cool. Strange Culture will be screened at Human Rights Watch International Film Festival, Lincoln Center, tomorrow night. Why did you want to tell the story of Strange Culture?
Well, the story is really about Steve Kurtz. And when I heard about what happened to him, I felt there was no choice but to do this film just to let people know what his situation is, because it's really a document about him, but also about our time, which I felt was important to communicate because it was so shocking, actually.
And you're a pioneer and innovator in your field. What is your sense of what you and other artists will be creating in the future?
Well, I mean, the future isn't linear, so one never knows, the inventions or the skews that it will take. But I think that a good possibility is that the communication between the real and the virtual, is going to be married seamlessly in works that are produced.
Are there any new tech devices that you'd like to create with? Anything that maybe is coming out, maybe the iPhone or something?
Generally, it's not so much the devices, but the software. I mean, we started working, for instance, in Second Life when there were 75,000 people, not 5 million. And, some of the surveillance system technology that's coming out. So the hardware and the installations of that come really after the conception, or else, after we create the software in order to see what we're dreaming about.
Right, true. And this is June 2007, but what do you have going on? What are your latest exhibitions coming up, if you could just list them?
Okay, I have in August, I have an exhibition in Taiwan. I have an exhibition in Locarno in Edinburgh, and in September in Montreal in the UK. There's a number of exhibitions. Next year there'll be 8 simultaneous shows in San Francisco, the De Young, the Legion of Honor, the San Jose Museum, the Berkeley Museum, so a lot, and the Chelsea Museum, hopefully, in New York as well. So there's I think 12 exhibitions between now and 6 months from now, as well as the screenings, which will be hopefully public distribution of Strange Culture and a new film, which will be out next spring, hopefully.
I wanted to say at the beginning that Human Rights Watch feels incredibly proud that we were able to show this as our opening night film. As Human Rights Watch works to protect and defend the human rights of people from all around the world, we feel very proud that we were able to showcase this film and help to protect Steve's human rights as well.
I've been in some exhibitions with Steve, and I certainly knew his work. And I heard about this story, and somebody told me about it in the art world, another artist, and we all thought the charges were going to be dropped. And when they weren't, I became really disturbed by what was happening, and felt that this was the most important thing I could do, is to tell the story any way that I could. I had a number of other things that were happening simultaneously, which I dropped to do this, because it seemed to be the most urgent and compelling story, that documents the time that we're living in. And as far as the form, it evolved continually. When originally I thought that Steve couldn't be in it, so we wrote it enactments. And then when Steve was in it, we integrated the interview that we hadn't anticipated. And originally, Steve didn't want Hope portrayed in the film, but then said if anybody were to do it, it should be Tilda Swinton, who agreed to do it. So it was a continual process, of using resources of really people. So many people were impassioned by Steve's story and what was happening, to freedom of expression and our civil rights, that they really so generously came into this project. And in fact, I should say it's really collage, because much of the material was just sent to me. In the process, I got footage from Germany, from England, from Chicago, from Canada, people I had never met, but had shot maybe an interview or done the cartoons, and all of this then became part of the whole construction of the collage as we move forward.
And Steve, when Lynn first came to you to talk about making a film, how was your reaction, and how did you work together?
Well, at the time she came to do that, it was a rather desperate time for me. And at that particular point, it was before the art world had really come to my rescue in many ways, particularly financially, although we're in trouble again. But at that time, they came, and I was basically just going from fundraiser to fundraiser and trying to just, how do we get the word out on this case? And so when Lynn came and said, I'll do my part, let's make a feature film, I was like, that's not going to hurt. So let's go ahead and do that. And for what you can do is, well, one thing is, sign up at our website so we can keep you informed on where the case is, so you can tell other people, is to do whatever you can to help us spread the word about it. Okay.
I'd also always say education and informing oneself and friends is always the good place to start. I think a number of people knew or heard about Steve's case, but I think like so many people thought, no, that can't be true. Well, that didn't really happen, or, well, it's resolved now. And to see this film and know not only did it happen, but it's not resolved and it's still going on. I mean, thank goodness there is this film and this evidence so people can't say, well, no, that's just a myth. I think the more places that this film can show, in theaters, in festivals, public television would be great, but, any places it can show, it's happened.
December.
December on public television? Fantastic. So do make sure everybody knows that, and that it gets shown as many places as abroad as well, and internationally, the better. And then you'll have to let us know when it's going to be on DVD, so then you can watch it.
December.
Oh, December.
An artist and college professor may have been mistaken for a possible bioterrorist.
It's my wife. She's not breathing.
Steve Kurtz called 911 early on the morning of May 11th after his wife suffered cardiac arrest and died in her sleep. Police arrived on the scene. They saw petri dishes and sophisticated scientific equipment. Through his grief, Steve Kurtz explained it was all part of an art exhibit about genetically altered food.
We make art that questions the relationship between art, commerce, and biotechnology.
Unconvinced, the police called the Joint Terrorism Task Force. Soon it was not only police searching his home, but also FBI men in hazmat suits.
They said that I had terrorist Arabic writings in my house.
Is that Arabic writing?
It was an invitation to an art show. They want to charge me with possessing weapons of mass destruction. They were trying to manufacture a crime, and they were trying to construct me completely as something that I wasn't.
I work for the FBI in the Buffalo office.
Like they had been reading our emails or listening to our phone calls. They were watching the house.
The FBI seemed to have been interested in Steve's politics. They were against the activities of the art ensemble. This was a way to get him.
We've drawn up this petition. We signed this petition, the FBI is going to have our names on file, right?
People have to know what's happening in this country. It's too important to keep quiet. The majority of Americans don't know what's in their food.
The corporations are patenting life forms. There's really big money attached to all of it.
The fact that the government is watching an art group whose subject happens to be illuminating the population about transgenic foods is the real point here.
I think it's the first time this has ever happened in the history of the federal court, where somebody is being charged for fraud, but no party feels defrauded.
Freedom of knowledge!
This is not about finding out the truth. This will be a huge expansion of power for the Department of Justice.
If an artist is silenced, then the potential is for everyone to be silenced.
Pope would never forgive us. She always said, never surrender, never give up.